The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that Zoom studio, we have Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, I am not. I am not in the palatial Hesselson studios. Usually, I try to come to Corning and be there in person. But I am. You're coming from Albany, New York, the capital of the Empire State, and you can see my hotel room.
How beautiful hotel room. It sounds like you have a very busy week this week, but let's first kind of do a recap, if you don't mind, because of what was it, 58 days without a budget. Tell us.
56.
Was it 56? 56. So tell us what your thoughts were when the whole process began.
Well, we got the worst of both worlds. We got a late budget and a bad budget. So you'd like to get either a good late budget or I guess in theory, an on-time bad budget would be better than what we had. But it's a situation where we waited a long time. There was a lot of angst and consternation and confusion. We actually, we ended up passing what the funding levels were for schools the day after they did their school board elections,
right.
Which is
horrible timing.
Just very New York how we did it. But it was extraordinarily expensive budget. We ended up about $14 billion more than the previous year. And so since the Democrats took universal control of the state government in 2019, we've had exponential increases in how much we're spending. And that just sort of continued this year. So that was very frustrating. There was some policy in there that was problematic. Basically, the one that got the most attention, to give you an example, is that they legislated banning local law enforcement from helping enforce immigration policy.
Right.
And I said during the debate, if their concern is that immigration policy is being enforced unfairly, is being enforced in a way where you're getting the wrong guy, or it's too aggressive, or there's some possibility of some sort of tragic accident or what have you, the way to avoid that is to have local law enforcement involved.
Right.
And they did the exact opposite. And I think what it comes down to is there are certain elements of the Democratic Party that simply don't want immigration law to be enforced, period. They just want that portion of the law to be ignored. And what I said is I want immigration law enforced fairly. I want it enforced responsibly. I want to obviously prioritize, the worst actors.
Right.
But the way to do that is have local sheriffs and local police chiefs involved, not cut them out. Another thing that angered me was there was slipped into the budget a $800 million slush fund.
Yes.
That just went to cities that Democrats wanted to just hand money to.
Sure.
And where this came from was they wanted to bail out Ron Mondani in New York City. They realized they didn't have enough votes because upstate Democrats were like, well, what about me? So the example I used on the floor was the city of Buffalo got $55 million. Just,
wow.
Here you go. And who pays for that when all the irresponsible cities in the state just get handed big wads of cash? It's everybody else pays for it. So my constituents are paying for that.
Right.
And I said, well, wait a minute. If you did it proportionally, if Buffalo gets $55 million, then Olean should get $2.7 million. Right. I did the math on how many constituents are. I said, well, where's the form they fill out to apply? And of course, there's not.
There isn't
a program.
Yeah.
There's no.
Much like matching funds, there are no forms for that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, actually, now that was a win. We did win on,
I know.
On having to get to that. But so this is this sort of thing where if you're in with the in crowd as far as the Democratic Party, they just hand you a wad of cash, no matter how irresponsible the management of your city has been over the last years or decades.
Right.
And everybody else that's been acting responsibly pays for it. And so what was frustrating about that is obviously it advantaged Democratic portions of the state, but not, it wasn't like every Democrat portion of the state got money. It was just the big urban centers. So it was unfair even if you're being, it was unfair even within their unfairness.
Only New York, only Albany.
Yeah, so I voted no on all 10 bills. The budget is made up of 10 bills. They do different things. One's a debt bill. One is appropriations for the legislative branch and the judiciary. 3 of them, other ones are sort of literally lining out number by number what gets paid. And the remaining are what are called Article 7 bills, which is supposed to be policy that's directly tied to the appropriations. Like, oh, we're going to spend this money over here, but we're going to change the law on how we spend it, or some new program or what have you.
Sure.
And they use that to just put other policies in the budget, which has some constitutional problems. It's supposed to be tied to a direct appropriation in some way, the way the state constitutions are written. Anyway, I voted no on all 10 of them.
Yeah.
Because again, the overall level of spending was ridiculous, and in each bill you could point to some other things that I would find problematic, and the entire process was
a mess.
As expected, messed up from the beginning, both time-wise and of course everybody gets mad on both sides of the aisle about how exclusive it is at the end, where it's these three people in a room making decisions.
Well, it makes it, and the media likes to make everything about themselves. So let me talk about me and the media for a minute.
Okay.
It's very frustrating because you can't even report on it when the news first breaks, because you don't, just like you as a person voting, really don't know what's in it because it comes to you at the last minute.
And then, of course, you have the problem of the governor just lies and says it's done.
Yeah, 2 weeks in advance.
Just makes that up, and then it's not done for weeks.
Right.
After
yeah.
that.
How embarrassing is that? And it just kind of just went by the wayside. I want to see that hit on more, because that is awkward. She's got to stop doing this awkward.
Yeah, and the way I describe it to people is, so last year she sort of got away with it.
Right.
It was about a week later, and they really were sort of close. And for those football fans out there, it was like a tush push.
Yeah,
right. At the 1 yard line, we just all line up and shove it across.
Yeah.
And I think she tried to do a tush push from like the 10, and you don't end up scoring a touchdown. You end up going 2 yards and falling on your face
and embarrassing yourself. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's what she like. Well, if it worked last year, it worked this year, and they weren't quite as close as they were, I guess, at the time that she pulled that last year. But it drives everybody nuts.
Oh, I'm sure.
Even the other two people in the room.
I know. Because Carl Hasty was not happy.
If I was negotiating, Carl, I was in the chamber. Carl comes storming through, and usually he's a pretty calm guy. Like he's got a good poker face. You can't sort of read him, and he comes. I'm like, oh, he's mad, and basically immediately said the governor is, full of it. Now, he did say, oh, we're never doing this again. Like we're never doing policy before money. I'll believe that when I see it.
It's easy to say that now, right?
And he's not. Let's just say, speakers. I don't anticipate major reforms coming. Let's put that in.
Right, and it's so easy to say that now because nothing's going to come up a year from now when you're still dealing with it. But it was definitely interesting to watch. Now this week is kind of the end, right? This is when you're trying to rush through everything in Albany. Is that how this goes?
Yeah, so the way the session is supposed to work is we're in session regularly the first half of the year. We're usually home, for the summer, dealing with constituent issues and all the work that happens being in the district. Then the fall is sort of a mix where you're home a lot, but they'll start to have hearings to prepare for the next session, to get the nomenclature right.
Sure.
If you're on a committee and you have a meeting, that means you're considering bills, and we're voting whether to advance those bills to the broader chamber. If you're having a hearing, it's a public event where people can watch and testify, and you're doing fact-finding on some particular issue in order to craft legislation. We tend to do a lot of that in the fall. But the way it's supposed to work during the legislative session is the first half is supposed to be either cleaning up bills from last year in the sense that they need to be tweaked.
Sure.
Those are called chapter amendments, or we do the budget. And then the second half of the legislative session is supposed to be everything that's not budget related, that's substantive. And so we have 1 week after the budget, and so they're trying to just ram bills through, dozens upon dozens, hundreds upon hundreds, and so we're sort of stuck in the chamber all day, every day this week, which makes you go stir crazy, voting on bill after bill, debating bill after bill, and everybody gets a little punchy. But there's a couple things to bear in mind about that. One, you might ask, well, why don't they just stay in session longer?
Right.
And if it was an odd numbered year, I think that they would. As we did last year, we extended the session another week and kept going. Most people who are in the legislature are from New York City, or a big chunk of them. Right. And in most of their districts, the general election is not particularly competitive. They care about the primary. So there's a lot of people that have a primary opponent that's run around neighborhoods in New York City knocking on doors, and they're stuck up here. So they want to get home. Yeah. So there's no appetite from the Democrats to extend session. Now, there's a silver lining to that. Because if session has a firm end, the people that control how fast bills move on the floor are the minority party. We decide, the Republicans, whether we allow an immediate vote on a bill or whether we want to lay it aside to debate it. Now, if we lay a bill aside, they might bring it right up immediately. We had one of those last night where I led the debate on a bill. We had laid it aside when it came out of committee and they immediately said, no, that's our priority. We want to vote on it now. But they only do one at a time.
Right.
So there may be hundreds of bad ideas that don't pass simply because they run out of clock and are all desperate to get back to New York City to avoid being taken out by Zohran Mamdani 2.0.
Right, the DSA candidate. And that's quite a time frame, because if the end of this week they get home, they're starting really late in the campaign season. I mean, the primaries are June 23rd.
Yep, which is why there's no appetite to extend session. There's always rumors because the governor can call us back. After, we can come back into session at any time. But I would say possible, but not necessarily likely.
Right. Is there anything specific that you're watching for this week? Anything that you're hearing?
Yeah, the big one we had a big press conference yesterday. I was with Congressman Lawler, came up, and the bill dropped late last night, the text. So I think we'll probably vote on it Thursday, unless they do a measure of necessity, in which case, it could be in a couple hours here. Is a constitutional amendment to just blatantly allow gerrymandering in the state of New York.
As if there wasn't already gerrymandering in the state of New York anyway.
But. Well, that's the thing. There isn't. We have it banned in the state constitution. So they want to gut that. The people of the state, because the way we do constitutional amendments, we have a referendum at the end. So the people put in the Constitution in 2014 that we're not going to have gerrymandering.
Right.
And then ever since then, the Democrats have been trying to undo it. They put an amendment before the public in 2021 to gut that protection. The people rejected it 2-1 in a Democrat state. They drew a map that got thrown out as a gerrymander by courts starting here, I say here, where you are, in Steuben County, but upheld at multiple levels of appellate court. They tried to gerrymander the state in 2022. Remember, because they're going to stand on the floor of the Assembly and the Senate and say, this is all about Donald Trump. It's all about Texas. It's all about Florida. They started this. Donald Trump did not start this.
Exactly.
The Democrats in New York started it. They attempted to gerrymander and change the rules in 21. They drew a gerrymander that got drawn out by their own judges. They changed the judges. In 22, Joe Biden was president.
Right.
And in 24, they did a mid-cycle redistricting. They changed the lines. They picked up 4 seats.
Right.
2 in Nassau County, 1 in Syracuse, 1 in the Hudson Valley. They did everything that they're mad about Texas. They're mad about Florida. And was infuriating. Yesterday we had a press conference about this. And of course the press are all about the narrative of Trump, Trump, Trump.
Of course.
And they said, wait a minute, isn't this just a response to Trump? And we said, no, wait a minute. They started this before Trump was president, twice. And they said, well, they didn't do a mid-cycle redistricting. Well, yes, they did. Literally, the press corps is supposed to be covering this. Memory holds the fact that the Democrats pick up 4 seats in the U.S. House 2 years ago, literally last cycle, because they did a mid-cycle redistricting.
Right.
And so now they're going to say the legislature can redraw the maps whenever they want. They're going to effectively take all the teeth out of the Independent Redistricting Commission, and they will try to obliterate as many Republican House seats in the state of New York in not this cycle, but in 2028.
Right.
Excuse me.
They've been just looking for that excuse. I mean, this is just a perfect
positive
excuse.
is in 27, this will be on the ballot if it passes twice. It has to pass, presumably this week. Has been an intervening election, which is why they can't do it for this cycle. And then they'll pass it again at the beginning of 27. Goes on the ballot as a referendum in 27. And everybody listening to me, everybody in the state will get a chance to vote on this. And the people of the state put anti-gerrymandering language in the Constitution 12 years ago and rejected weakening that anti-gerrymandering language 5 years ago. So we're going to have an epic referendum battle in the state of New York. It will be the biggest issue for the next year and a half by far in the state of New York.
What is up on 2027 though? There's not. That's almost going to be a standalone with local races, isn't that?
Correct. Yeah. Well, and remember, there's far fewer local races than there were.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Most town and county races are moving to even numbered years.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be fewer. It will be the thing that we're voting on next year. There'll be some local races. Sure. For instance, in Bend County, there'll be a judge race, and DA's up, and county clerks up.
But I mean, the voting drive is going to be the important thing to get the message out.
This will be the top. This will be the number one thing. I anticipate all the money being thrown in on both sides.
Sure.
Especially if this year's midterms leave the House of Representatives again within 1 or 2 seats either way.
Right.
This may be determinative, and so anticipate the only thing politically being talked about in New York for the next year and a half is, will the Democrats get a chance to knock out 3, 4, 5 Republican House members?
Right. And we had touched on it quickly as I made a joke about the missing forms or the non-existent form, but that was a great decision in favor of Bruce Blakeman. No matter what you think about matching funds, put that aside. I've done my disclaimer a million times. I'm not for it, but that's the rules of the game. And Bruce Blakeman did it.
And if you're going to have them, they have to be distributed fairly. And so remember what happened there was Bruce was denied up to $3.5 million for his campaign because he didn't correctly fill out a form that they hadn't created. There was a statutory change in how the lieutenant governor and governor candidates were paired. They used to be more independent. Now they're more definitively paired. And they hadn't adjusted the form. And so they were directed by statute to create that form. They didn't create it. He filled out the old form. And they said, "Oh, you messed up," and sued. And actually, I know the lawyer that handled it. He's a guy that does things for our Republican conference, the Assembly, great guy. And they won at the trial level, and then they had an appeal to the appellate division. There's 3 layers of courts in the state of New York. The middle layer said 5-0. It wasn't a split decision.
Right.
5-0 that Mr. Blakeman gets a chance to. Fill out. You got to hand them the form, let them fill it out, and of course, it's like a 1-page form.
Right. It's not even
some major extensive document. So it looks like he will receive those funds, and the courts did the right thing for once.
Do you think the Democrats on the commission will appeal one more final time, or have you heard anything?
I think it's possible. They already appealed once.
I was shocked they appealed once. I thought they could take the loss, knowing that, again, we were lectured that the whole reason we the taxpayer have to pay for matching funds is to make the little guy have a chance against a big bad incumbent. And so when that actually presents itself, because the DNR don't sit in the way they want it, now they take away. So I thought they'd at least step back and say, yeah, we did look biased there, we won't appeal. So for them to appeal the first time, I would be kind of shocked if they don't the second time.
Yeah, it's possible. The 5-0 helps.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not a expert on appellate procedure, but my understanding is appealing becomes a lot more automatic when there's a dissenting opinion. And in this case, there was not. It was 5-0, so there's a possibility that this may be the end. But I was hoping the last one would be the end.
Right. And it's just such a waste of time when Blakeman has other focuses. Which, by the way, I know I text you. I think Blakeman's more popular than I thought. So
I think I was just texting with his campaign manager yesterday.
Yeah. And
I was saying to him that I felt that there was growing momentum in the Southern Tier for him. And I'm looking forward to working with him on Southern Tier issues, especially energy issues. I think we're going to see more of that, talking about natural gas exploration and that sort of thing. So
I was just saying it so I could pat myself on the back, Joe. That I got.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you got 7 billion views on the video.
I didn't even announce this on the show. Yeah, he shared our video.
You haven't told these people yet?
No, he shared the video. Yeah, I hit it for just
one. He posted it. It's what Frank's talking about.
Yeah.
To the people. Talk directly to the people. Is he posted his video of interviewing Blakeman, and we got like 1 million views.
5 million views, Joe.
5 million.
That's why.
That's more than my videos get a couple thousand.
Yeah.
5 million.
I would have taken a couple thousand. I had no idea that would hit 5. It's actually kind of scary. But
that's good. That's good.
Well, I also
I think the enthusiasm for Bruce is growing. I'm behind Bruce 100%. We got a choice between Kathy Hochul and Bruce Blakeman. That's an easy choice.
Right. And what I liked about specifically the one that he shared when I did the interview, it's because it was just a clip telling everybody what his positions are. So if 5 million people watch that, that's a good thing for Bruce Blakeman.
That's right, and that's what you need to do to sort of cut through this. Where if you're somebody who's a moderate Democrat in New York City who doesn't like a communist running your city, the way to deal with that is elect a Republican governor.
Yeah. And so I'm excited to see more from him. And I think it is good that he got the matching funds. But everything I've seen, I know he's been getting some endorsements lately. He is running a tough campaign. It's going to be difficult when Kathy Hochul has, what, 20 million on hand? But at least he's going in there fighting.
Yeah. I mean, Kathy's got a lot of money. She's a sitting governor, but she's a bad sitting governor.
Right.
And I think that, like I said, the way you need to make it work is you need people to be enthused in the base, upstate.
Right.
But you also need to win common sense Democrats and independents downstate. And that's how you make the math work in New York.
So, Joe, the hard-hitting question that I don't think I've ever asked you on this program, what do you think of Spencer Pratt?
I hope he's next mayor of Los Angeles, which if you had
did you imagine?
I'd be saying that 5 years ago, like, what was he, on the hills or whatever it was? This amazing, a reality TV star. Turns out to be a great candidate.
It's impossible.
I don't know if we've ever seen that before.
No.
He's running a great campaign.
He really is.
And he's being very innovative. And I think it's one of these things where everybody knows when you have a fire and you can't build houses back for years.
Yeah.
And there's crime and poop in the streets and what have you. Something's gone wrong.
Right.
And it's tough to defend the existing establishment running that city when it's so obviously messed up.
Right.
And so you have somebody who can communicate that in a good way.
And the earned media that he's received.
If I was in LA, I've only ever been to Los Angeles once in my life.
Yeah.
I had a long plane layover.
Yeah, right.
But if I was a resident of the city of Angels, I would vote for Mr. Pratt.
I would too. It's been just fascinating. As someone that didn't even want to follow it necessarily, it's all over your social media. It's all over the news, not just conservative outlets. He's just getting that attention that I think every candidate dreams of, that kind of earned media.
Well, like I said, he's talking about, common sense issues in the sense of, the basic functions of government. That, recovering from a disaster or public health or public safety. These are things that are not particularly partisan or ideological. They just want, and that's good for a mayor.
Yeah.
Mayor's job is to run the city.
Perfect.
Make sure things work.
Yeah.
And that's what he's talking about.
Now, on the other side of that coin, not a good candidate, one Mr. Graham Plantner.
Oh, boy. This guy. And every single Democrat running in the United States should be asked about this guy.
Yeah, just like
relentlessly.
Like on the other
they
side.
shouldn't be able to go anywhere on their campaign, talk to anyone without saying have to be answer their question of whether they think this guy should be the next senator from Maine. Had a Nazi tattoo.
That was his earliest scandal.
Of Democrats calling Republicans, Nazis, and then they're supporting the guy who literally had a Nazi tattoo. Not to mention, apparently, rampantly betraying his new wife.
Right.
So this guy's just a total scumbag.
Yeah.
And he's running against the most, by far,
yes,
the most liberal Republican federal elected official.
Yes. Now,
Susan Collins is more liberal than every other Republican in the U.S. Senate. She's more liberal than every Republican in the House.
Right.
If you're a Democrat, you want to say how a Republican should vote, and I'm not saying I agree with Susan Collins on all the votes, because I don't. There's a lot of things I disagree with Susan Collins. I think she's too liberal. I'm much more conservative than she is. But if somehow she's some sort of existential threat that you can't bring yourself to support, and these people are supporting, a guy with an SS tattoo.
I know. Did you see that?
The only thing that unifies the Democratic Party, the only thing the Democratic Party is about is power. Period. That's it. They're frauds.
Right.
They are a fake political organization that is purely about power. And the only good thing about this psycho running for Senate in Maine is he's showing that to the whole world.
Get this, Barbara Boxer, and I'm paraphrasing here, Barbara Boxer essentially said that because Susan Collins has voted with Trump, that's more offensive than Graham Plantner.
And frankly, she's voted with Trump less than anyone that's a Republican elected office at the level. Like I said, I am much more conservative than Susan Collins. I disagree with Susan Collins on a lot of things.
Yes.
But if you're a Democrat elected official and you say, we got to support you got to support this guy, you're a complete hypocrite, and you're completely about power, and you're about nothing else, and you have no values.
Yes, totally agree.
This guy is worse than anything they've even accused Donald Trump.
I know. So are you going to a UFC fight on the White House lawn?
On the White House lawn.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing about
I love America 250. I love it.
We're gonna have the IndyCar race.
Yeah.
Through the Capitol. Not through the Capitol, but through the capital city. Right. And we have UFC, and we're gonna get a new ballroom. Which, by the way, I've been to events at the White House. They desperately needed a large event space, so that's a good innovation. The fountains are working at Union Station. Right. I saw, which I went to college in Washington D.C. Those fountains, some shady folks hanging around there. So the fact that it turned out all you needed to do was call a pool guy for the Republican and save $15 million or whatever it was.
Right.
I think there's wonderful renovations happening in our nation's capital.
And I love this America 250. And I know the media is trying to, this guy canceled on the performance, or this person. Listen, the UFC, here's my only question. Will you have to watch UFC, which you normally have to pay good money pay-per-view? Can you watch it on C-SPAN?
Oh, that's it. That's a government event now.
Yeah, right?
But I mean, if it's like, Kirsten Gillibrand fights Ted Cruz.
Right, maybe then they can do it. Well, I know we got to go here, Joe, because it's a Zoom a little bit more restricted than normal. How's everything going at the local level?
So locally, obviously the primaries are coming up. On the Republican side, we just have a couple of very local town primaries: Campbell, Town of Corning, Irwin, Lindley, and Rathbone. If you're in those towns in Spence County, there's a primary. Obviously, there's primaries going on in other counties. Chemung County is a countywide primary. The Democrats, congressional primary in the 23rd, congressional primary in the 24th, and a statewide primary. They're the controller. The controller has multiple primary opponents. So that's what's going on primary locally. Again, in Steuben County, very quiet primary season. No state, county, or federal primaries. Just some local ones. All
right, Joe. I guess who I have on the program Thursday? Saritha.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I mean, she's running against an attorney general that has, defined, sort of lawfare. And so I really hope Saritha wins the attorney general's race.
Me too. Well, Joe, thanks for giving us so much time. Have fun this week. Enjoy it. Take it all in.
It's unlikely. I'd rather be there with you.
I know it. We'll have you on before the primary. Before the primary, we'll have you on, Joe. Thanks for giving us so much time, buddy.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.